The Rancho de Taos Neighborhood Association presented State of Taos County Address and Conversation with Commissioner Darlene J. Vigil, District 3, recorded at the Talpa Community Center on April 16, 2023. Here are introductory remarks.
Welcome to the Talpa Community Center and what we believe is the first State of the County Address. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cynthia Patterson. I'm currently president of the Rancho de Taos Neighborhood Association, a commissioner on the Acequia Madre del Rio Chiquito, and a Cebollera. Did I get it right, Carmen? Okay. To begin, we want to recognize some of those who serve and contribute to our community. Please stand if you are a member of the group being recognized. I want to begin with the Rancho's Neighborhood Association Board of Directors. If you would please stand, I want to recognize each one of you. Sanjay and Lucita are at the back. Sanjay is our treasurer. David Grover here in the beige sweater. Hank Sachs is our secretary. And Flor Serna. And Rose Des Georges is missing. She's our vice president. And Betsy Martinez. Very good. I would like all of our currently elected officials to stand up. If you're currently holding office, thank you. I'd like any Acequia commissioners and mayordomos to stand up and be thanked for your service. And anyone else who is on any board of a church, a land grant, a mutual domestic, please stand up if you're in a community service organization here. Talpa Community Center, thank you all. I do want to say that the Los Chaquihueros are meeting today, so they aren't here. Before we hear from our guest, Darlene Vigil, I want to say a few words about the Rancho de Taos Neighborhood Association and Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos Traditional Historic Community. Founded in 2004, the Ranchos Neighborhood Association is a nonprofit New Mexico corporation and a federally recognized 501c3. In 2018 and 2019, the Ranchos Neighborhood Association appealed the decision that would have allowed a family dollar in ranchos, and that appeal was made to the Taos County Commission. The Commission approved our appeal in a 5-0 vote, and that decision was also upheld in district court. In 2019, when the Traditional Historic Community Statute was expanded to include all New Mexico counties, the Ranchos Neighborhood Association began planning to obtain that designation. It took 4 years, but on December 20th, 2022, Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos was declared a traditional historic community by the Taos County Commission with Darlene Vigil as chair. As we began the work on the traditional historic community, we needed to create a statement of why it was important to do this and know the purpose. It's short, so I would like to read that to you. The purpose of designating the unincorporated neighborhoods of La Cordillera, Los Cordovas, Llano Quemado, Ranchos de Taos, and Talpa, collectively as Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos traditional historic community is to protect the character and heritage of Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos by ensuring the right to determine our future as residents of Taos County, free from the extraterritorial jurisdiction and annexation by the town of Taos. To honor and preserve the interwoven values of the rural heart, history, cultural traditions, and architecture of Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos. Acknowledge and support the acequia system, engineered and constructed within the watershed of the Rio Chiquito and Rio Grande del Rancho, dating from the 18th century, and to recognize the acequias as a unique historical, cultural, and natural resource within Taos County, New Mexico, and the United States. As part of preparing the information for the Commission, we created an application dealing with how Las Comunidades met the statutory requirements to become a traditional historic community. That includes information on each neighborhood, and it includes many historic and contemporary photos and maps. A copy of that document is here. I encourage you to take a look at it. It can also be seen on our website, ranchosdetaosna.com. There is also on the website the presentation that was made to the County Commission when the Traditional Historic Community designation was passed. One of the things that we have been asked to do is to provide copies of that document to libraries and schools, and people have asked for copies. We would like to get it published. If anyone is interested in donating or participating in that endeavor, we'd appreciate that very much. According to statute, we can also erect signs along roadways marking our boundary, which will also require some funding, but that we would like to be able to accomplish. Then in June, start attending the Talpa Farmers Market right here. It is a wonderful event, and you won't regret coming at all. And if you're not coming to just buy some goods, set up a table, sell some things. Talk to Lupita, the executive director here. We will continue to send out email announcements of events, and so get on our mailing list if we don't have your email address. So this brings us to today. In getting to work with Darlene, I've become much, much more aware of the multitude of issues the Commission grapples with every day, and with the many committees that each commissioner sits on. Darlene is going to touch on those today. Darlene is a lifelong resident of Cordillera. She began her career in public service at the Taos County Assessor's Office in 1983 and retired after 31 years, with the last 8 of those as our assessor. In 2021, Darlene was elected to the County Commission and served as vice chair her first year and was chair in 2022. In addition to the Commission, Darlene serves on the following boards that aspire to keeping coherencia and herencia in the forefront. These include, and get ready for this list, Taos County Economic Development Corporation, Taos Housing Partnership, New Mexico Association of Counties, National Association of Counties, Taos County Cooperative Weed Management, Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area, HEPCHOS, Hispanic Conservation Leadership Council, and is president of Alianza Agricultura de Taos. She's also currently involved with the 100% Community Initiative, working towards providing essential and thriving services for the entire county. Between serving as assessor and being elected to the Commission, Darlene began attending the Ranchos Neighborhood Association meetings and served on our board as vice president. And I know she started coming to check up on us. And what Darlene wrote as her statement of purpose is that she is committed to maintaining traditional and cultural practices that benefit present and future generations in an ever-changing world, and believes in the wisdom of the community and continually draws from it. Darlene? Oh, we will have time for comments, questions, but let's hold them until she's done, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you all for being here today, for taking time from a beautiful day, right, to come in here and for being interested in what government is doing. I want to first start by thanking the Ranchos Neighborhood Association. And I'm a little nervous. I'm sorry. I always get nervous. You think after 30-some years I wouldn't do this, right? I wouldn't get nervous, but I do. But anyways, I'm very grateful to the Ranchos Neighborhood Association and also to Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos for the invitation. I'm truly, truly honored to be here. And I'm going to put my glasses on, and I'm going to have to read, guys, because there's no way I'm going to remember all this information. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to serve as your county commissioner, your commissioner from District 3. I'd also like to tell you that today we have Commissioner Brush, who is my sister in the commission and chair of the commission. I also want to say that thank you for my brother of the commission, Bob Romero, and the other commissioners I don't see here, but I just want to mention their names. We've got Commissioner Ron Mascareñas of District 5, Commissioner Miguel Romero of District 2, and I think who am I forgetting? That's it? We got it? Sorry. Okay, so we are fortunate. We commissioners are fortunate that we serve on a commission where we respect each other's opinions, and also very fortunate that my brothers and my sister commissioner is, we work diligently for the community of Taos. So, please know that our hearts and everything we do every day is in regards to just making sure that we're taking care of each and every one of you. So, very happy to serve with them. Taos County has seen several challenging years due to the pandemic. Needless to say, we know that worldwide, the pandemic affected everyone in different ways. We have lost family and friends and community members along the way. We have managed to live in a way that considers others more so than ever, and it definitely has forced the county to reevaluate how to get things done. Using creativity, and also thinking out of the box, and collaboration. The pandemic truly highlighted housing issues like never before. Hiring and retention has become quite the challenge. Project costs have increased. Difficulties obtaining services and often even finding the supplies have created project delays. And yet, Taos County has received funding that has never been seen before, creating opportunities and also challenges. I'm going to talk a little bit about the funding that has come through. And ARPA is one of the funding, and I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit about how that came about. America Rescue Plan Act, which was signed into law by President Biden in March of 2021. These ARPA funds were intended to deliver direct relief to the American people, revitalize the economy, and combat the coronavirus. State and local governments received funding to bridge budget shortfalls and to mitigate the financial shock of the pandemic. Taos County received a total of $6.3 million in 2 payments. Approximately 1/2 of the first payment was used for internal county government needs and premium paid for county employees. The other half of the first payment was designated for community impact programs, including setting aside $1 million for housing efforts and for funding community programs. With support from Lord Foundation, Taos County worked with Eridon Consulting to initiate a process of listening to community stakeholders. There was an extremely strong support for investments in housing, followed by community health and well-being and economic resilience. Taos County worked with the Taos County Community Foundation to host the application for funding and to distribute the funds. Taos Nest, along with also CAB, Las Cumbres Community Services, Más Comunidad, Peñasco Theater Collective, New Mexico Immigrant Law Center, De la Tierra de la Cosecha, which is a collaborative with including TCEDC, Taos Land Trust, Taos Valley Acequia Association, and Alianza Agricultura de Taos, Talpa Community Center, North Central Food Pantry, and Cuesta Farmers Market. It's important that you all know that what was looked at during this, the applications was collaboration, and that these organizations were talking to each other, working with each other. That was super important. Once again, you're going to find out that the theme around here is collaboration, and pretty much everything we're doing. The additional funding that we received was from, it's referred to as LACTF funding, and that stands for Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. Taos County also received a little over 6.1 million. So we've actually, as you can see, lots of money coming in, right? Very challenging to actually process it out, but we certainly are very fortunate to have it. And through it all, Taos County staff has been dedicated to making sure that we continue to provide services and remain financially sound. Taos County has 281 positions on the books with 73 vacant positions. Our HR department director, Gina Allen, and staff continue to work diligently on a recruitment incentive plan and recruitment and retention incentive plan for commission approval. Employee compensation remains priority for commissioners. Employee compensation, as I just stated, remains priority. It's very important. You all know this. People struggle in Taos all the time. Employees are not paid wages that really sustain or allow them to live in Taos without struggling. The struggle is definitely real. So while this compensation plan is in the works, all employees received a 7.9% increase in wages in 2022, with the exception of elected officials. In addition, employees were given overtime and premium pay, with the exception of commissioners. And I'm happy to report I just found out that the compensation plan is ready to roll out, and it shall be reflected in this year's July 1, 2023 fiscal year. That's something we've been working on, right? And I have to tell you that every commissioner is on the same page with this compensation plan. They all have walked in the doors saying that priority was to make sure that our employees were paid properly. Some of the key positions that are currently available are finance director, E911 dispatchers, detention officers, and temporary appraisers. I'd like to go ahead and let you all know, and I hope you can pass this information around. So working for Taos County comes with a lot of benefits for people. And I think sometimes people just aren't aware out there that there are medical benefits, retirement, paid time off, room for advancement, and mostly, importantly, an opportunity to make a difference in our community. So please, if you know of anyone, send them our way. They can reach out to the HR department and for more information. I would also like to point out that Taos County has managed to hire 2 exceptional deputy managers Jason Silva, and Chris Madrid. They, along with County Manager Brett Jaramillo, see the day-to-day functions, staffing, and moving all projects along. And I have to tell you that commissioners are very famous for bringing all these ideas forward, and then staff has to, frankly, try to figure out how to get it done. We really appreciate them, don't we? I also want to talk a little bit about the collaborative projects, and this has been so important for Taos County, and that is that we work together with the town of Taos, and frankly with other entities within the community. These are a few. Detox. We are extremely happy to share the collaboration that has taken place with the town of Taos that has allowed us to move forward with the detox. The town gave this building back to the county with the intention that we would build it out for use as a detox and also coordinate getting a service provider on site. Funding that was granted by Governor Michelle in the amount of $195,000, along with congressional funding in the amount of $3 million to expand the facility to accommodate twice as many beds. The request for proposal for service for a service provider will go out soon. So hopefully we'll see the doors open sometime late this year. Other necessary pieces of this support service picture are falling into place. Days in, Taos County had requested state funding for this former hotel to be used as a longer-term residential treatment center. In other words, someplace to go after you leave detox. We didn't get that funding, but those efforts were noticed. With the help of North Central New Mexico Economic Development District, a partner came in to renovate and to run the treatment center. The name of that company is Doing Good Enterprises. The same organization behind Darren's Place in Española. Taos County partnered on securing a CBDG grant that will cover much of the cost of renovations. And for emergency services, there's the Ancianos building, the old senior center, which soon will house NEST. NEST stands for Navigating Emergency Support Together. This is another collaboration of Dream Tree Project, Heart of Taos, Taos Men's Shelter, and Youth Heartline to provide crisis overnight shelter to adults with a men's dorm, women's dorm, and a gender-expansive dorm. A variety of support services will be located on site. This project transforms the way our community assists people facing homelessness by unifying agency responses, establishing a one-stop community resource center, and opening a crisis overnight shelter. We were proud to provide Taos County's Frank Lavato Senior Center building for this effort. Felimon Park, Sanchez Park, as you all know, needs a lot of work. And I have to tell you, every time I drive by it, it just saddens me that it's sitting there, but there are plans for this. Because the town of Taos has a more active Parks and Rec department, and also owns the Echo, did I say that right? Echo Park across the street. Taos County has agreed to transfer the park to the town. We hope we can potentially collaborate on its future cleanup and programming. Taos Housing Partnership. I don't know if anyone's paying attention about housing out there. Certainly, we all know is a big issue. The seeds of this were laid in summer of 2020 during COVID when community members came to talk about our housing dilemma. And I don't know, Commissioner Brush, if you remember, but that was when we were joining, and Representative Ortez, I think, was also definitely part of those conversations around housing. So that's where it all got started. And then we eventually had a presentation from Jen Lopez with the Moxie Project. And she came in and met with leaders and basically stakeholders through the community. Taos County entered into a contract in the fall of 2021 with Project Moxie for evaluation and consulting services. This work was supported by the Lore Foundation and the Taos Community Foundation. Today we've come for community public meetings, bylaws, joint funding agreement with town, and just this week job interviews for the executive director of what will be the new nonprofit. There's more to come. Holy Cross Hospital, another exciting collaboration in the works. We have had several conversations between commissioners and Mr. James Kaiser, which is here today. Mr. Kaiser, I don't know, do you mind just standing so they'll know who you are if they haven't already met you? He's the CEO of Holy Cross Hospital, and the HCH board members have all come together to have several conversations that have brought to the forefront community concerns, Holy Cross Hospital concerns, with a common goal of having a community hospital with a community feel and meeting community needs. I feel real confident that we can get there with hard work, collaboration, and community efforts. More to come on that one as well. A couple of projects that you all have been probably seeing for quite some time. One is the Historic County Courthouse, which is well underway. This project has really taken some time to get to this point. Since I can remember, commission after commission has worked extremely hard to acquire the funding to renovate. The funding has been coming in slowly but surely, thanks to congressional and state leaders and county staff. We will continue to work on acquiring the funding to get it over the finish line. If you have been in the plaza most recently, I'm sure you have noticed the area has been blocked off. And I believe starting tomorrow, they're going to block off part of the road in the plaza, if I'm not mistaken. Commissioner, I'm looking at you.
It's already blocked off.
It's already blocked off, okay. So, please know that I know it's inconvenient, but it's very necessary in order to get this project done. We do have a team out there making sure that the merchants around the plaza are well aware, and feedback is being received from them just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Recycling, I'm going to turn this one over to Commissioner Brush. And do you want to come on up? And the reason I'm going to do that is because she really truly has a heart for recycling. And, as we talk often about recycling, my recycling is a little bit different than hers. And actually, mine is a lot of reuse. But I will tell you that I think twice now about that plastic bottle. So here we go. I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you. And for the record, I reuse a whole heck of a lot too. I was raised by a farm mom, so we definitely reuse. And when the town closed down the Bertha Street recycling center, it was a check for my household's own habits, and we very much started to reduce because you've got all kinds of choices. If when the Talpa farmers market isn't happening or other farmers market and we can't buy directly from our local growers and we're going to the grocery stores, you can buy big plastic boxes or maybe not. And I'm really lucky to have a husband who does grocery shopping. So when he comes home with like something that's extra packaged in plastic, it's really hard for me to say, oh, really? You're so nice. You went to the store, but don't do that. Anyway, the county is taking the lead on recycling for Taos County. And I will tell you, it is happening right now. We have a couple of solid waste employees who are passionate about this because they see what's out there on our lands, along our roads, in our arroyos, in our forests. They see it because they go out there and check the illegal dump sites, and it breaks their heart. So we have, for example, Lorenzo Gutierrez, who I spent half of yesterday with, he lives and breathes this stuff because he lives and breathes our air, our water, our land.
You are listening to the State of the Taos County Address and Conversation with County Commissioner Darlene Vigil, District 3, recorded at the Talpa Community Center on April 16, 2023. This is KCI 90.1 FM, Red River, Taos.
Right now, at the Taos County transfer stations, you can recycle as Taos County residents. Bring your punch card, if you've got your punch card, and go to any of the transfer stations. That's Pilar, that's Hondo, that's Costilla, and they will accept cardboard, tin, aluminum, batteries, motor oil, your white appliances that you're maybe getting rid of, they will accept those and they will recycle them. The key is it has to be clean. If your cardboard is wet, greasy from last night's pizza, or moldy, it's just going to be landfilled anyway. So watch your cardboard. I know you are watching your cardboard now. And keep it clean and dry and take it to one of those transfer stations. That's our solution for right now until we stand up a full-blown, full-service recycling program in the county. Our guys, our solid waste department guys, and Jason Silva are working towards this. They have toured the Bertha Street location because the mayor is willing to work with us and maybe let us use that. Still up in the air if that's going to meet what our team believes is the best way to do this. The mayor has also offered to potentially help fund some of these. But you have to realize since this was a service that the county wasn't doing before, it involves new job descriptions, new line items on a budget for those job descriptions. There's a lot of bureaucratic fun that goes into getting a program stood up. So please bear with us. Meanwhile, go to those transfer stations. It's kind of a fun drive to most of them. And am I leaving anything out? I think it's coming and we're committed.
We definitely want to thank the people that are.
Yeah. There are, Lorenzo in particular has been working and talking to for well over a year or so now, our local businesses that are providing recycling service. That's Conscious Taos, that's the Recycle Ranger, that's Tilt. And then we have a community member, Ms. Jennifer Paris, who has volunteered to help write some grants. So we have a lot of partnership. We recognize the desire is real. And we recognize there's a lot of learning still to be done, but we're getting there, guys. We're really getting there, and we're grateful for everyone who's been patient, who has offered help. And meanwhile, the county staff knows not to offer me a plastic water bottle anymore. So. But yeah, we all can do our part, right? We all do our little pieces. Like really, the problem isn't any individual recycler. However, we might do it the same or differently. The problem is much bigger. We can just work here on the ground to try to clean up some corporate messes that are kind of forcing us to waste more than we want to. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm telling you, at my household, we think twice now. And I think about Commissioner Brush all the time when I'm, going to throw something that I need to maybe recycle.
We've gone to Santa Fe recycling together.
Yes, we have. I know where that's at now. So I want to talk a little bit about public works, roads, because I know roads have always been super important in Taos. And, that's another thing that we just can't seem to stay in front of. And we can't seem to get enough funding for. But let me tell you what we have done, okay? And I will be specific to District 3 in just a bit, but let me give you some general information. So Public Works, the interim director is Joe Fernandez, and he has dedicated staff of 5 foremen and 7 road maintenance operators. They really, really work hard in providing exceptional service. But once again, when you think about 326 miles of county-maintained roadways, it's really hard when you have just that amount of staffing. District 3 alone has 93 miles. Matter of fact, I think that is I'm one of the commissioners with the most roadway miles. So let me go on to say that the major construction projects completed or near completion include County Road 110, and that's Veterans Highway, what we refer to as Veterans Highway. El Rito, and I'm going to give you a little bit more specifics. So I'm going to switch here real quick because Jason was really kind to give me some details. And so going back to the C-110, the repaving for nearly 3 miles of county road from C-110 to Los Cordovas Road to the BLM recreational area. A new box culvert under the roadway as well as the new guard railing. A pedestrian path was also incorporated into the design and as well as reseeding to avoid any erosion. In the future. Project budget was $3.3 million. So I'm just going to round the numbers. That's what that project took. In the fall of 2022, and some of this is District 3, so I'm sorry, I was going to try to separate it, but I believe most of this is going to fall into District 3. In the fall of 2022, construction began at the Aguas Caliente Bridge. Are you familiar with Aguas Caliente Bridge, which is also known as the Pilar Bridge? This was done to make the crossing as safe as possible. The structure was in desperate need. This one took 1.2 million to finish, and I believe I just got word yesterday that it's been completed. It was really difficult to secure, the money in regards. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Brush, but I want to say this project started off at 500,000 or in that range. By the time it was all said and done, it was 1.2 million. That's just to show you the cost increase,
And because of what they found when they took off.
That's right. There was some additional work that they needed to do because once again, it was an old bridge, I think built in the 60s. And I also understand that they had to go out and search for someone who specifically works on that particular type of bridge. We put out 2 RFP, which is a request for proposal, and we didn't get anyone to bid. So when that happened, that allowed us to then go out and start searching ourselves. So we finally found someone who was tied up and eventually freed up and was able to take this project on. But that's just the beginning of that location because that bridge is only a temporary bridge. We are now working on trying to figure out where the new bridge is going to go because we really do need to build another bridge out there. And right now we're in the midst of trying to obtain the funding, but that bridge I think is already at 11 million. So it's certainly going to take some time to gather that money. The next one is the John Dunn Bridge, which is not in, well, actually part of it is in my district and the other part is actually in Commissioner Brush's district. So the John Dunn Bridge and the Rio Hondo bridges were also under construction. This project started in June of 2022 and is nearing its completion date, and I believe it's estimated to be completed now at the end of April. The John Dunn Bridge was given much needed attention, which includes structural repairs, lead abatement for existing paint, driving surface repair, as well as fresh coat of paint. And for the Rio Hondo Bridge, the old severely damaged culvert was replaced with a new bridge to allow much safer access to the Rio Grande River recreation area. That one came in at over 5 million. The other major construction projects needed in District 3 and that are on the queue are West Camino Abajo de la Loma, east and west. And I'm going to give you some idea of what those costs are coming in at. So we went out for estimates back in on 7/8 of 2022, July of 2022, and I have to tell you, I wonder if this is even true anymore, but this gives you an idea of what we're looking at. And I say that because every time we turn around, these costs are going up. So the La Cuchilla, I did say West for Romero. Let me start with that one. It's amazing the cost associated. So we've got West Camino Abajo, which is 1.3 miles. That one is coming in at 221,838. Of course, that is, and if anyone wants to look at these, you're welcome to. It is public information, but it's very detailed as to what they're going to have done. And then we also have East Camino Abajo, which is 1.5 miles. That's 228,000. On the queue is also Espinosa Road, which is 1.32 miles. That one's coming in at 833,000. La Cuchilla Road, from Highway 68 to Tom Holder, and that one's coming in at 300,000. We also have on the list Valerio Road, but I don't have the estimate, and West Romero Road is 1.93 miles, and that's 447,000. I currently have in District 3 over $800,000 to work on these roads. Obviously, we've already exceeded the amount. So we're gonna have to try to figure out how we're going to proceed to get the additional funding. And also, we rely on our road department foreman to tell us which road goes first. They have rhyme and reason to how they get started, and I can tell you that often they look at, if there's work in the area. For example, like at Valle de los Ranchos, we want to make sure that they've gotten that part done before anyone goes out and starts working on the road. We don't want, for them to then come in after and do some work, and it happens. So we're just collaborating with them, making sure that that everyone knows what's going on. Okay. So I may have not mentioned your roads. So please know that you need to talk to me. Let me know if there's something that really needs to be looked at. But more importantly, please know that all roads are being looked at. It's not just the roads I mentioned. I mentioned these roads because these are the ones that have been on the list. I also want to mention a project that's been going on, and I'm going to look at Cynthia because every time we see each other, we always say, "Hey, what's going on in La Morada Road?" That project, I think, has been going on maybe 4 or 5 years. And but I want to give you a little bit of information on what's going on. So it's been said that I guess there's maybe some burials that took place and could be basically on that road. And so I know they're trying to do a realignment. We're not really sure about all that, but I know that people were very concerned because the cemetery is right there, and we want to make sure, out of respect, that we're not driving over, anyone. And so this is what's going to take place. Design of La Morada realignment project is 100% complete. That was done by Alex Abeta Engineering Incorporated. The right-of-way purchase agreement and warranty deeds were prepared by a sub-consultant, and that's Varela Gutierrez Law Firm. Renee Varela Gutierrez, excuse me. The survey plats and meets and bounds descriptions were prepared by also a sub-consultant, which is Rio Grande Surveying Services, Scott Crowell. The appraisal was prepared by Gerald Nichols as a consultant for Taos County. And the appraised value for Taos Municipal School Board, that came in at $3,228. Alex is securing final approval from the new owner of the late Carl Dawson. The offer to Carl prior to death was $3,675. And the offer to Gustavo is $5,422. The total right-of-way acquisition adds up to the amount of over $12,000 to be paid to the property owners by Taos County. So what's really holding us up right now, because we obviously have worked with all these different individuals and followed the required statutes on what needs to be had or done in order to be able to realign this road. The late Carl Dawson is kind of where we're stuck right now, because we haven't been able to I guess, basically locate the new owner. I know we've had individuals actually give us phone numbers. The staff has gone out. They're all making efforts to contact this individual. So this is really the holdup right now. So as soon as we get through that, and we believe, because we've got a little bit of time now that the water's running, we can't touch it again. So we have to wait till the acequia, system, the water is no longer coming through in order to be able to do the work. So we believe in late September of 2023 or November of 2023, it should get done. If we cannot locate the owner, then Taos County has to make a decision on how to proceed. And we believe it's a safety issue, as well as out of respect to the cemetery or the individuals that might be on that road underneath. So that is what's taking place in District 3. And I guess at this point, that's a lot of information. I don't know if I've forgotten anything. I'm going to ask Commissioner Romero and Commissioner Brush. I think there's one thing you want to go ahead and talk about. Did we miss anything? EMS, I think, is the last one.
A couple things. You want me to do
please,
that
absolutely.
and the corridor thing?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And just one slight, I know we were going back and forth trying to confirm this a bit. The 195,000 for detox, there are two more things. One, that was capital outlay from your representative, Christina Ortez, right here.
Thank you.
It's okay. There's a lot, like you just heard, there's so much going on. To keep track of all of it is a lot. But we also did get last year, through congressionally directed or designated spending, another $3 million to add on to that facility, the former detox, and basically double the space. So there'll be twice as many beds once we can get that construction project up and going. So that's one thing I'll add. We both checked each other a little while ago and said there was a big thing that happened last year, thanks to all of you. And that was passing the additional gross receipts tax for first responders, for Taos County Fire and EMS, which have, like, those teams on the county side have worked hard to kind of combine forces, but we need more funding to pay, for example, another ambulance crew. Representative Ortez and Holy Cross are generous to us to provide ambulances. We need to pay for the crew to have full round-the-clock service every day of the week. So because you guys approved that in November, thank you, we'll be able to pay people to do the work that we all hopefully don't need, but thank you. Like, we're obviously fire and emergency response is as critical as ever. So just wanted to mention that because you guys all had a part in that. And the other thing that we talked about covering briefly that I volunteered to take on was the Green Corridor project that you might have heard about just over a year ago, also called the Clean Energy Corridor Project. My favorite term for it came from J.R. Logan last fall when he introduced it as the Blue Corridor Project, because it's all about water. And water, we all know that is at the core of us being able to be here and do what we want to do and maintain doing. Anyway, the corridor project was the very large, comprehensive package of a lot of things that had a big ask in terms of the dollar amount, 155 million. Taos County was awarded by, this was the governor last session, $5 million. And just so you know, like that's kind of the outcome of that project. We got $5 million in here that was specifically for the projects that are kind of most important to our landscape, our forest, our ecological, environmental restoration work. Those projects include both Taos County and Taos Pueblo got money for forest wildfire risk mitigation, so thinning projects, forest health projects. We got money for, when you drive down on Highway 150 and it drops down toward Valdez, and if you look up to your right, it's falling, like the hillside, the fence is hanging off. We got a good chunk of money to repair that erosion work, which is awesome. A good bit of money is being dedicated to a project around Rio Hondo water quality and quantity studies so that we actually know what infrastructure work needs to be happening uphill. So that is like a very kind of like data-focused, science-focused effort that got funded as part of this project. Protection for the Rio Grande cut trout is also part of this, and I feel like I'm missing one. Electric vehicle chargers for Taos County. What else am I missing from that? I think that was it. So basically, like the money that did come in, at first it might have been like, oh, that's just a fraction of what was being asked for. But it's stuff that we really need to maintain the health of our forests and our watersheds. So stay tuned on that. And that was all I think I was going to cover for you.
Right. I think I forgot, please remind me, I'm sorry, Veteran Cemetery, did we talk about it? We didn't we? Such an important one too. That was, once again, a lot of efforts on trying to get this one complete, and it looks like we're getting near the finish line. So this past legislative session, and once again, Representative Ortez, thank you. She has helped in securing $3.4 million to complete that veteran cemetery. This will be used to complete the maintenance bay and administrative building and equipment, purchasing equipment. We are building the cemetery to national standards for a veteran cemetery. And we're hoping to be able to soon bury our veterans late summer. That is the intent, or that is what I'm being told. So let's, hopefully see if we can pull that off. The administrative building will not be done, but there's been some work over the year. Yes, Commissioner Fresh, I think.
I just forgot the Green Corridor project.
Oh,
I just
okay.
remembered I forgot one.
Okay, and what I also forgot to tell you is I want to bring awareness to a joint effort between Senator Gonzalez and I. And it stems from safety concerns with Highway 68, beginning in the area near Stakeout, coming this way. As many of you may know, when you turn into, I believe it's Tierra Blanca, there is no turning lane, and people are really concerned. I get calls all the time because, as we all know, there was an accident on Highway 64, same kind of situation, no turning lane. Someone just rear-ended someone, and it was fatal. So we definitely want to, bring awareness to New Mexico DOT. I've actually met out there with them and talked to Tierra Blanca property owners or residential owners out there. And so that effort is, once again, the Senator and I want to work with New Mexico Department of Transportation. It is a state road, highway. And I've also talked to our Chancellor, Mary Gutierrez, who's also concerned about individuals as they're coming out of C-110. And there's kind of a little bit of a blind spot there. And so there's talk about potentially maybe a light being there. And also, if you've noticed, that road has been skipped, meaning like it has not been worked on. The road going into town has been, we all know they've been working on that one. But as you drive into Yanakamado, it just hasn't been worked on for quite some time. Safety concerns, but I want you all to know, because Senator and I realize that we need to have several community meetings to get some feedback. We want to be culturally sensitive and in regards to, right by the church and just different areas. But it is something that we're going to have to work on, and I suspect it will take us years, because most of our projects do take years and years. But just so you all know that it is something that we've been talking about, and we're getting ready to set up some meetings in regards to, a meeting with New Mexico DOT. And Taos County's team has also been looking at it. And so we might just call you all back and see what you all think about that road and what your concerns are. So that's just to bring awareness. Tom Holder is another one. And I'm going to look at my brother of the commission, Bob Romero, because he's an advocate for this one. He's definitely, him and I, that road borders both of our districts. And that road, Bob, if you want to stand up, and you know that this has been something that has been in the works for quite some time, correct? And we haven't been able to get traction, but I think we're gonna get there. So you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I don't want to say very much here. I wouldn't want to have anyone suggest that we have a quorum of commissioners conducting county business here today. So I'll keep it just to the topics. The overview that Darlene and Jeanette gave was a very good overview of what's happening in the county. As for myself, I represent District 1 in the county. I have lived in the same location for 36 years, and I've lived in District 1 since the 1990s, when I believe the districts were created. Prior to that, it was 3 commissioners that served at large throughout the county. And so in any case, it is part of Ranchos. So I was very, very supportive of the initiative of the Neighborhood Association to create the traditional story community over the past year. It was an effort to retain, preserve Ranchos as a rural, traditional, historical, agricultural community. And so very much in support of that, the sequias and the land grants and so on. But in terms of the county, yeah, we try to operate on priorities and focus on the priorities. And several were mentioned, including the historic courthouse and Veteran Cemetery, the roads. In my district, it is Blueberry Hill and Tom Holder Road. Tom Holder Road is a kind of a bottleneck road that's been there for years. It has 2,300 cars per day on it now. It has a one-lane bridge, and so it definitely needs attention. So it is one of my focuses and one of my priorities. But there are so many priorities throughout the county, and the two commissioners outlined them very well. One thing that is very different right now in the commission, in the county, is that we have an unprecedented amount of funding that has come into the county. And this is a result of the COVID pandemic, and also the money from the state. Our state legislators were very successful in bringing in a substantial amount of capital outlay money, I believe 29 million throughout the county. And of course, just go through various projects. And in many cases we are not the primary organization benefiting. Quite often we are we are just the fiscal agent for a particular project. And one example there would be the gas line, the natural gas line in Peñasco. And any number of others are similar to that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Vigil, and I think she gave a very good overview already. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, because anytime we have more than two commissioners at the same location, we have to certainly notify the public. And so it was noticed in time that we would have at least 3, if not all 5 of us. So I also did want to say that it's important to highlight that other commissioners prior to us coming on board, they had already been working on Tom Holder. They secured the land, that one large strip next to the road, and with intentions at some point of maybe widening the road. And so, once again, it's just so common that our projects take some time and other commissioners come through, but the new commissioners just often try to always remember those projects and just pushing them forward. Certainly want to say, last but not least, and I know everyone's touched on this, and that is that we closed out in 2022 with the Taos County Commission approving ordinance 2022-70 and resolution 2022-5, designating Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos as a traditional historic community. That is a true collaboration. That was the collaboration of La Corriera, Llano Quemado, Los Gordos Ranchos de Taos, and Talpa. And I have to tell you, and I didn't say this in the very beginning, I meant to, I think I just got nervous and forgot. But I remember when Cynthia, I was chair, Cynthia had reached out and said, how much time do I have to present? And I told her 15 minutes. Tell me, yeah, you have to present 100 years of history, no, in 15 minutes. So when I asked her how much time do I have to present, she told me 15 minutes. So we joke all the time about the 15 minutes. Truly, sincerely, you can see there's a lot going on in Taos County, and hence why I had to read it, because there's just too much information. I'm sure that we're not telling you everything. This is new state of the county, the first time I've ever known that we've done one. I think we should do them more often. I know Commissioner Brush, and I know even Commissioner Romero, we're constantly talking about making sure that we're letting the community know what's taking place.
You are listening to the State of the Taos County address and conversation with County Commissioner Darlene Vigil, District 3. Recorded at the Talpa Community Center on April 16, 2023. This is KCI 90.1 FM, Red River, Taos.
We want to revamp our website. We certainly want to, we've been trying to brainstorm and how we might be able to get this information out to all of you. But this is definitely a good opportunity to get this information out. and hope that we can do this more often. I guess I would, at this point, say also that a little bit more about that Las Comunidades and that presentation. I have to tell you, that was one of the most beautiful presentations I've ever seen. I know that El Prado did the same thing. They came before us. They also did a really great job laying down the history, sharing that information. And I swear they need to turn them into books because it really, really gives the history. It was easy. I want to say it was easy for them because there's a lot of history here. She might tell me different. But thank you so much for having the foresight, the community for having that foresight and protecting. And we certainly, with Commissioner Brush and Commissioner O'Donnell, approved that resolution, that ordinance. So we will forever know this area now. As we say all the time, it's a mouthful though, Las Comunidades del Valle de los Ranchos. So congratulations to all for your hard work. At this, I'm sure I've left out a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and now turn it over to you guys and let you all ask questions. So please feel free. If we don't know the answers, please know that we'll get back to you.
Could also Congresswoman Ortiz speak a little bit about the legislative effect on the things that have to do with the county and then questions?
That's a perfect idea. And you'll notice she doesn't have a paper, so she's just going to go off of memory here.
Yeah, thank you for the promotion, but I'm definitely not a congressperson. I'm your state rep. So I spent 60 days in Santa Fe from mid-January to mid-March. I'm just sort of getting over it. It was a really crazy year. We passed the biggest budget ever at $10+ billion. 29 million came to Taos for capital outlay. Those are all infrastructure improvements, so not programmatic money, but money for roads and for not hospital money this year, I'm sorry to say, but we did pass a really, really important bill for the hospital. And I'm going to mention it now because you have to be thinking about it I think it's going to be in the November 24 ballot, this year's?
I think this year.
All right, so you got to be ready to vote this year. There's going to be a mill levy on the ballot for the hospital and for the UNM Taos nursing programs. It is so important that we get this passed. We cannot have a hospital that is not functioning, and this money will really be essential for ensuring that we get the capital improvements that we need at the hospital, and so that we can grow our own healthcare nurses right here. So you've got to pay attention to it. It's really, really important that we pass this because we need that money. So it was a last minute bill. I think we got it on the off the floor maybe the last day or the second to the last day. It happened very late at night, I think. I don't remember anymore. I just remember reading it and then passing it. So that was something that Senator Gonzalez started on the Senate side, and we were able to get it passed this year. There's so much happened in the legislature. I'm happy to answer questions. I think that's probably the best way to do
And
it.
that is a GRT, right?
That's it.
But on the
I thought it was
hospital, on the
It's
hospital.
not a GRT. It's a GRT. So it's not a mill levy. It's a GRT. Right. So we have been working on reducing GRTs, which I think got vetoed by the governor. It was probably one of the she did a lot of line item vetoes on our tax package, but you should also all be receiving a check for either $500 or $1,000 from tax and rev in the coming weeks, I think in June. So that's something that we also did with our surplus. $1 billion got saved, $1 billion got spent in general operating budget, and then another billion or so in tax cuts. So that's something that you'll all be feeling in the next couple of months. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
I did want to point out that I always tell this story because I think it's really funny. I think it's funny. So
It's funny.
as I was growing up, my mother and father always said, don't ask for money. Don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
We will provide, and you have everything you need. Maybe not everything you want, but you have everything you need. And I remember as my children were coming from school bringing these boxes of candy, and asking me, saying we need to sell. So guess what I would do? I'd buy boxes of candy because I just hated to ask people, to buy a candy bar. Well, I ask for millions of dollars all the time now. It's just kind of funny, right? And I look at Christina because Christina, along with Senator and even our congressional delegation, thank you, they're always willing to take a phone call from us, and they're always willing to help. So, I think it's funny because I couldn't ask anyone for money, but now I do. All the time. And so I just wanted to share that with you, but let's go ahead and see who has questions or comments.
Hi, this is their District 1 Commissioner. Blueberry Hill is our north-south access, and with the construction on the main it's been used as a alternative route for heavy semis that are sometimes 10 times the load capacity of that road. And that road has been heavily damaged. It looks like that's going to happen again when we get to the portion of the road in the downtown area, in the absolute center of town where there's not much access. And the repairs and maintenance on that has really been poor. And the damage to residents' cars using that for north-south access instead of the main road has been really hard on the residents' vehicles. I hope there's something in the works to do a better job of that.
I think Commissioner Romero, that's in both of our districts, so we can, let's tag team it, okay? And just so you know, that is on the big list of projects. There is a phased plan for fully repairing that road, not just patchwork, but I believe it's going to be a resurface.
We have to deal with the extra traffic because of the Paseo del Pablo Sur now. And that means the patching has to be done better. They patch them and they don't fill the potholes up well, and it's still a pothole, and it's a pothole within a week again. And so it's been poorly maintained.
And just so you know, that a major project to really get that road back to where it needs to be is in the planning and
do a better job of patching until
right.
that happens.
Right. Understood.
That's my question.
Understood.
About what happens between now and then.
Right. Yeah, and part of as Commissioner Vigil mentioned, our road team has a rhyme and a reason and a plan. And the last thing we want to do is kind of make Blueberry Hill one lane or a detour around it while the middle of the town project is still going on. So that's one level of coordination that has to happen. But I don't know if Commissioner Romero or Representative Ortiz, you said that you knew a little bit more too.
No, I don't know anything.
Okay.
But
just it's well on the radar that road is a mess.
But we can let Paul Brasher
That
know.
doesn't really answer my question about right now. The maintenance that's being done now and not being done.
I don't think we
properly.
can do it right now is the issue.
Then why are we routing heavy traffic that's a 5-ton road, and we're routing 60,000-pound vehicles onto it?
They're routing themselves down.
No, that's not true.
Well,
The signs were up at the blinking light in here and routed semi-traffic to Blueberry Hill. Am I wrong?
and is that still the case? Because that is
No,
a
but
conversation
that's gonna become the case again on the next phase of Paseo del Pablo Sur.
so that's really, really important for us to know, because we can then talk to Paul Brasher at DOT and say we can't, we've got to, one, let the public know, so notify the public about when that's going to happen, and be ready to do the patching work immediately when it needs to happen. I'm sure they know about it, but I think what they don't fully appreciate is how it affects the public and what it means for those who live on Blueberry Hill or any place that's being used as a bypass.
We all use it for north-south access when there's things going on like now.
Right. Well, I think this is something that DOT people need to hear from. DOT needs to hear from folks. I know that on May 19th, there's a meeting that we're having. I hope Senator Gonzalez can come. I believe he will come. It's at Kit Carson Boardroom. That's a Friday it's 5:30 to 7:30. DOT will be talking about how businesses are impacted and what businesses can do while the Paseo project is happening. So we'll have that conversation as well. But I will let Paul Brasher know that there's deep concern in community around Blueberry Hill being used as a bypass and what the plan is. That's what I will do on
We
Monday.
have to use it for
But
bypass.
there's
no
nothing that we
choice.
can do until
But-
we have a conversation with DOT and what their plans are. You know, it's, and they also have their own list of priorities, so
But this is a county road, isn't it?
Yes.
yes, but
So-
Blueberry
so
Hill gets support from
DOT
DOT as
So
well.
what we'll do is we'll take it back to our road director and we'll let them know your concern. And I totally get it. My husband drives through there every day and I hear it, trust me. Yeah, and so when he comes in, yeah.
Playing like a video game
I totally get
avoiding
it. Yeah.
potholes.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
So when he comes into the house and he doesn't call me honey and he says commissioner, I know that there's a problem. So he'll say Commissioner Brush, Commissioner, talk to Commissioner Brush, or do I have to call her? No. Anyway, so yes, we hear you. You are right. It is a county road. Obviously, you know, when they're patching, you know, it's like putting a Band-Aid, right? It's not really doing much right now. And so it's frustrating, but we'll certainly share that information.
You tell me we have lots of money, but we can't afford to do a good job.
Right, which I also indicated, there's challenges because with that money, it's very specific, the use, we do have guidelines.
And all of the extra money that she mentioned would probably not be enough to do all of Blueberry Hill. So just,
We're not talking about redoing it, just doing
well,
a
but
good
we are,
job
but we
without
are,
the
that's our,
potholes.
We do plan on redoing the road, and I know that it was, I think it came in, it was 7 million at one time, now it's 11 million. But it is in the works and in the immediate, let's see what we can do.
I
that fair?
understand the logistics of the big projects.
We've got the point.
Dedicate a little
Okay,
more
next.
money
Thank
to make it possible.
I know roads is one of the most, they're difficult, yes. Yes, see, Senor.
I've been having problems with the same thing. You've been promising me that you're gonna put some speed bumps there.
I never promised. No, I never promised. So I can assure you. yes.
Let
decision.
me talk to your boss. I said, well, we didn't vote for.
There's a process.
Yes.
But this is what I want. They're doing 80, 90 miles an hour, even, especially more on Holly. Now, I told you to see if you could put some temporary speed bumps. And I've seen them at the park, and the schools, and different places, where you put some poles.
Yes,
Yeah, I think you could.
I understand, Mr. Gonzalez.
Like that. But the thing is, it's getting out of control.
Yes, and let me just kind of let you all know, Mr. Gonzalez did ask that speed bumps, humps, whatever you want to call them, be placed on Camino Bajo de la Loma. And there's a process. So he did start that process, and part of the process is getting signatures from community members that actually utilize that road or live in that area. I'm not sure where he is in that process because typically commissioners don't get involved in the day-to-day functions. You know, if something's not taking place, something has failed at the county, we get the calls, we reach out, we, you know, make sure that things are moving along, but we don't get involved in the day-to-day functions. I can assure you that, yes, those speed humps, another process or part of the process is it has to go through a couple of different reviews like EMS, make sure that it's not going to hinder them if there's an emergency. I believe right now that road has not been touched because once again, I think they're making sure that no one's gonna have to come in and dig lines and they wanna make sure before they resurface that road that they have, you know, really reviewed and determined what's gonna take place. So I know the holdup right now is I'm not sure where you are in your process, but please, you can come see me, come over to the county.
You know that road is very straight, and you know them kids, you know, four-wheelers and all that stuff, even growing up. And I think the problem is that, okay, the middle cemetery, some of these people are coming from Talpa or whatever, Cuesta, or Peñasco, and I think it's mostly those guys that are speeding. If we could close that road up to the upper road for Carlitos Boca goes through, but put a fence right there so.
Why don't you and I talk after?
Rescue, Darlene. Let's move on.
Yeah,
Let's move
because
on. We have a lot of other hands up, so let someone else have the microphone.
I wanted to talk to you too.
Okay, we'll talk afterwards.
We can't talk now?
No, we're taking too long. We've got to let people go home and irrigate.
Well, let them listen, no? What do you said you belong to the Seca Madre del Rio Chiquito?
I do.
What do you know about that dish? The Seca Madre del Rio Chiquito.
Mr. Gonzalez, we'd be more than happy to have these conversations after
If
the.
you want to have a conversation about the Sequia, that's apart from this conversation in this room right now. I want to pass the microphone to the next person, please.
Yes, go ahead.
You and I need to take after.
Yeah.
We'll talk after this meeting.
How do we get internet access to the areas that aren't covered by Kit Carson, the co-op?
Well, there is Taos Net, who provides.
Are you talking about actual, the infrastructure?
No, this is in my situation is in Llano San Juan, and none of the internet providers.
I have not a clue about that, and I don't know if anybody at the county or the state does. I am not a high-tech person
I can talk a
here.
little bit about that. And I
Okay,
know
good.
that in the meetings, as you stated, I sit on the board of the New Mexico Association. Actually, it's now called New Mexico Counties. And there was much conversation about, it's not just here, but in many areas throughout New Mexico, the rural areas, there are still issues with not having internet. So there's no easy fix right now, but apparently they are working on it and identifying these areas and how they can support. So I don't have an actual answer, but I do know it is a conversation, and I do know that they're working on it. Yes.
So there was a lot of money put into the budget for broadband expansion. And you all just passed a resolution that allows for state funding to be used for private installation and connection. And there was a change to the anti-donation clause that's focused on essential household services. That passed last year. So this coming year, we're working, Representative Chandler, who's the chair of Judiciary, who led that bill, and I are going to be working on the rural expansion for broadband. So that looks like money and it looks like programming. I don't know how much money we're going to get, but I know that we'll drop that in the January session next year. So it will be coming. There are lots of folks who are working on broadband expansion. So that's what I know. I don't know how much, but I know there will be something.
So I would like to focus on something positive, and I want to give a big shout out to the initiative that Holy Cross Hospital is taking in looking forward to hiring local staff, local talent. In the past, a lot of the local talent has left the valley here, looking for opportunities elsewhere. And the fact that it is now being put out that you're welcoming past employees, that you're looking at hiring local employees, that you're looking at collaborating with the nursing program at UNM. That is, in my opinion, excellent steps that are being taken. And that's the type of economic growth and development that I think that we need in the valley here. You know, your organization, and I also want to say that organizations that provide those type of jobs, benefits, salaries, that's I think the type of development that we need to push forward, look for, and encourage. And places like the BLM, places like National Forest. That right now, those are two entities that are underfunded from the federal level. And I think if they get the proper funding, that is going to go a long ways in helping our local economy. Thank you, sir.
It might seem strange that tourists can't find the San Francisco de Asís Church, but actually, my husband and I have been living on the corner of Valerio Road in Espinosa, and I can think of it at least, probably a dozen times in the past year. People typically with out-of-state plates who very much want to find the church somehow they can't find it. They go by it on 68, and they don't realize that what they're seeing is the back of the church, and they don't know to turn in and go around to the front of the church. So I'm curious if there could not be some better signage, or at least the historic wooden sign that's in very sad shape. If there couldn't be a little better signage for visitors who want to visit the church.
Thank you. I'll definitely take that back.
Sure.
Makes sense.
My question is about recycling, and I want to direct that to the commissioner who's just sort of taking the lead on recycling. But anyway, she mentioned, the initiatives that the county has taken, and I take my trash to Los Cordones transfer station, and I know there's supposed to be recycling there, and they did have recycling containers, but they haven't been picked up for, I think, a couple of months. I think something's falling apart there, and I just want to know if you know anything about when we can recycle anything besides cardboard out there.
Yeah, and you might have probably noticed that I didn't mention that as one of the transfer stations, because when our guys said, like, let us just do it, we'll take all the recycling there at Las Cordones, they got overwhelmed because it is like the town is also going right there. That's why they pulled back on that particular location. Hopefully it will come back, but when they open that up to the county and town residents, we've got like 2.5 to 3 guys dealing with this, and they couldn't handle the volume. So I'm optimistic that if not there, then more central into town, it will come back when the program is fully stood up. But that's what happened there. They just they were literally physically hurting themselves dealing with the volume. And we said, you guys are important. We can't have you breaking yourselves down. So stay tuned. Hopefully it'll be back there or someplace as convenient. And meanwhile, the other transfer stations are where you can take not just cardboard, but again, aluminum, tin, not plastic or glass yet. I didn't mention those. That's a bit of a challenge right now, but we're getting there. Thank you for the question.
Are speed limits, is this the right place to talk about speed limits?
Ask your question and please feel free to.
Coming up Paseo, when you're heading towards West Romero, as you're heading up the crest of the hill, the speed limit increases from, I think, 40 to 45. So if I'm coming from the south and then I have to take a left on West Romero, they're speeding at me. And I'm just amazed there's never been an accident. I think that's my
Thank you. I will certainly look into that and remind our.
That's the whole stretch you're talking
Yes,
about.
that's the one that's going to be
redone.
Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate the question.
And Darlene, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also talking the stretch right in the middle of Ranchos where there's been a temporary stoplight at the intersection at the post office for years.
Yes, that's exactly the.
And that whole section through there has to be addressed. There should be sidewalks for pedestrians and a lot of work to do in there.
And meanwhile, maybe we might be able to address that particular sign.
Yeah,
Yes, we'll talk so I can make sure.
That's also where the church sign is, which should be definitely part of the project. But if people don't recognize that side of the church, they haven't looked at any photographs or anything ever. Mr. Summers?
First of all, I really appreciate you having a state of the county. This is really important. The more people know, the more data they have about what roads are getting used, where the money ought to be going. The more transparency there is, the easier it is, so the less misunderstanding, I think, for confusion. So this is a great thing that you're doing, and hopefully it'll get expanded in the future. Couple of issues. Years and years ago, I was on Bill Richardson's transition team for the environment. I've been just mortified by the Environment Department in the subsequent 30 years. But one of the things we suggested back then was that there be not only a recycling center, but there be a household hazardous waste facility. RenChem will accept those things. This is all the stuff that's in your garage and underneath the sink that winds up in your septic tank effluent in your leach field that stays there for God knows how long, and is harmful to the environment over the long haul for sure. And it would be relatively easy to do. What do you do with paint? What do you do with, all these kinds of things? So if you would add that to your agenda. One of the other things I want to call attention to is this last session of the legislature. I watch these things like a hawk. They passed Senate Bill 1. Senator Worth, I was surprised he carried it. I would ask people to look at it and read it in detail. I believe the effect of that bill is going to be profound. At some other time, I'd like to talk with everybody about this and what it means and what it's going to mean to everybody. It has to do with all of the water resources in the state of New Mexico being divided into 6 districts. And there's some really good parts to it, but there's some other parts I think we need to talk about. So I'm going to pass that along.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. If there are no questions, any more questions, we certainly don't want to cut anyone off. As we've indicated, this is the first time we believe this has happened. I hope that it was informative. I hope that we will continue to do more. Thank you, Cynthia, Hank.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You guys are awesome and always trying to make sure the community knows what's taking place. We appreciate the road questions, we really do. It is a hard topic, it really is. Believe you me, like I said, I have to deal with my guys at the house all the time. But we hear you, and we're definitely going to take all this information back. And I did want to remind people that if you have a concern, a road concern, go to the Taos County website. There is a place there where you can report a concern, a road concern, and that's the easiest, the quickest way to get a response. I don't call the Public Works Director because it would be inappropriate. That's old school politics where we would pick up the phone and call them, and then they're trying to satisfy commissioners' ask, and we want to be fair to everyone. So if someone calls me on a road, I will certainly send it down the line, the chain here, and then I circle back and say, did you take care of the concern? Did you reach out? That's the extent of what I do. I just want to make sure you're being heard. I want to make sure that someone is replying. But that is the quickest, easiest way. I know I got on there the other day just to test it, right? Because my husband kept on telling me about a pothole and blueberry on blueberry. So actually it was lower blueberry. And so I went in and I didn't say commissioner. I just said Darlene Vigil because it'll ask you your name. And I indicated where the pothole was, or is rather. And basically I received an email the next day that they would go ahead and head out there and take a look at it. So I thought, hey, I think that's even faster than me saying, hey, Jason, can you put this on the queue? So yeah, it works. I know not everyone uses internet, may not, I don't know. But you can always call to the county, or actually you want to call Joe Fernandez. And so if you need that information, we can give that to you. I will end there, and thank you very much. You've been very gracious. And on my nerves, I get nervous, but just remember that we are here to serve seriously from the bottom of our hearts. We do care about the community, and just give us a call. We want to hear your voices. It's very important. Attend our commissioner meetings. That is really important. And if you don't want to sit there all day, look on the website. The agendas are posted. And if there's a topic you're interested in, you probably want to be there, right? We represent you, but if we don't know what the needs are, we can't, we're gonna do our very best to do what we think needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you all. The other thing is that I'm not sure what the address is, but if you're not on the county's mailing list to receive the county commission agenda every 2 weeks, sign up. You'll just get the email that has the agenda, has their packet, everything. So thank you all for taking your time out today. We appreciate it.
And if you need a card, I have a card.
You have been listening to the State of the Taos County Address and Conversation with County Commissioner Darlene Vigil, District 3. presented by the Ranchos de Taos Neighborhood Association and recorded at the Talpa Community Center on April 16, 2023. This is KCI 90.1 FM, Red River, Taos.